Hello everyone, I am Zarek Short Sentinel, and welcome back to Century of Economy 2019. The Spanish upgrade their town on the Medicine Island to a trading port, which will allow them to trade with other factions. Right now, the French seem like the most likely trading partner. Ships continue to swarm around Pride Rock, eager to get metals to increase Spanish wealth. The stack of metals on the Spanish home island continues to grow. It is now taller than a 4- and 5-mast ship. The Rattlesnake and Harlequin gather finished goods. Even though lumber is more valuable, the Americans realize that having resource diversity is important for their long-term plans. The American gold fleet heads for home, while on the left the newly launched Bellevue and Commodore Preble look to meet up with Rogers on the President. Using some of their gold, the Americans launch the Speedy Return with a helmsman at their home island. Havana Black passes the Bloody Jewel in Bonnie Liz on his way to the shipwreck pathway, while the Princess escorts. The Banshee's Cry sails out, taking a coin with her. The pirates finish their turn by launching the Song, with Jenny Gallows, a helmsman, explorer, and 2 oarsmen. The English launch the Lady Provost. In the background, you can see the Raven returning to English waters, but under cursed control. The French situation is not as dire as they believed it to be, and in response to the construction of the Spanish trading port, launched the Royal Louis from Rise of the Fiends, specifically to do business with the Spanish. The Bayonet finds that docking at Archway can sometimes be an adventure in and of itself. The crew are disappointed to learn that medicine can no longer be gathered freely. The Spanish are bringing in metals by the boatload. Here the stack on their home island has gotten taller than a 10-mast, with the Zeus modeling for effect. The Spanish spend some of that gold to make the first privateer launch of the game, putting the Bowshuan with Admiral Zheng He, Katsura-chan, Chang Pao, and a helmsman into the water from their trading port on Archway Island. The Cursed focus on Voya Nui, with the Fiddler's Green, Urchin, Lois Justice, and Dark Pact all docking or making ready to dock at the beach. The Cursed end their turn by spending every cent they have, trying to one-up the Spanish by launching the Guishan, with a headhunter and a helmsman, as well as the Fallen Angel, with Barst. The pirates also launch, spending most of the hidden trove. Raven's Neck, with a captain, helmsman, and cannoneer. Darkhawk II, with a captain and helmsman. The Cassandra, with a helmsman. The Shadow, with a helmsman. A town token and military port token, which will be loaded by the Raven's Neck and Darkhawk II. With Delafloat giving a guaranteed extra action, the French have sent the Royal Louis to the Spanish trading port, while their gold fleet continues to bring in less valuable resources. The Louis and other French ships learn of the terms of the trading ports. The pirates continue to dodge storms. This particular one has nearly caught the Banshee's Cry more than once. Storms could also be a problem in the south by Shipwreck Pathway, where 2 different storms hover around the island. The Cursed have gathered most of their gold from Voya Nui, using the highly valued silver and sparkly silver to fund their fleet. Here the Dark Pact and Lois Justice have explored, and the Dark Pact has found fruit, throwing a wrench into the Cursed operations. Barst helps the Guishan with an extra action, as the massive treasure ship heads toward Hidden Cove. Things are getting crowded around the American home island, as the canoes and other gold ships bring in lumber. In the background, the Frontier and Nene Nui have teamed up again and are planning on venturing to Tutorial Island for spices. The new pirate launches move out, with the Cassandra and Shadow sailing south toward the Metals Island, while the Neck and Darkhawk II sail north, toward Voya Nui and Tutorial Island. The Coral realizes that there is a second beach on the opposite side of the food island, and that someone has explored it and found finished goods. The Raven sailed up to the English home island, whereupon the English noted that the Raven no longer flew the Union Jack, but the red skull of Davy Jones and the Cursed. The Aberdeen Baron has opened fire in the first shoot action of the game, and successfully taken a mast off of the Raven. As a reminder, it takes 2 hits in the same shoot action to eliminate a mast from a ship in this game, and the ability doubles up on ships that already have that ability. Despite lower resource values, the French are doing well, with enough coming in to fund their operations and keep them competitive. The current round of values ended and new ones were needed. The dice were rolled, with a 5 and 3 coming up. Metals ceased to be as valuable as they had been, with finished goods and food becoming the most valuable resource, worth 5 and 6 respectively. This would benefit the English, if they could get some back home in 3 turns. The Spanish are undertaking a massive infrastructure building, with a level 3 colony now built on the Gold Island next to their trading port on the Medicine Island. The Biancos themselves are overseeing these operations, from the Buscador and El Dorado hoists. With the shift in resources, the Americans now focus on finished goods, which are worth 5 gold. Lumber is reclassified as semi-valuable, and only the canoes and a couple of ships are assigned to gather it. However, Kanohi Island is becoming more than just a resource island for the Americans, and their plans to defend it have not changed. The Speedy Return, Frontier, and Anywho all divert from their previous voyages to load up finished goods. The only gunships the Americans have, the President and Bellevue, with the American fleet admirals on board, keep a watchful eye on the pirates, who the Americans do not trust. The Banshee's cry sails to Tutorial to put an explored marker on it for the pirates again. Accompanying her is the Orca, who still carries the plague. The Raven's Neck and Darkhawk II are slowly making their way toward Tutorial, and pass close to the Americans docked at Pyramid Island. The Amity has re-entered Voinui Bay, and Don Gilbert hopes to explore an untouched stack of treasure when the Amity docks at the beach. The Bloody Jewel sails for Split Island, which produces food and finished goods, the 2 most valuable resources at the moment. The Aberdeen Baron had poor cannons and aim, and so left the task of purifying the Raven to the London, who was much more suited to the task. Here the London has eliminated 1 more mast from the Raven. With some stocks of food already on their home island, the English cashed them in to have some spending power, and launched the HMS Caradoc with Cargo Master Thomas Gunn III, HMS Benjamin from Return of Davy Jones. With finished goods as valuable as they are, the French flock to Triangle Island, and make plans to trade the resource with the Spanish. The French end their turn by launching the Lee Blue. The same storm from earlier continues to bother the pirates. Here it has moved off the coast of their home island. Only the canoes and the Sea Wind remain to gather lumber. The rest of the American gold fleet is focused on the finished goods on Pyramid Island. The Speedy Return and the Carolina dock home and unload their cargoes of lumber and finished goods. The Frontier uses a fleet action from Rogers to speed away from the pirates, who've gotten close and frightened the uncaptained American ships. At the end of their turn, the Americans launched the USS Mississippi from Return of Davy Jones, the Sea Strider from Fiends of the Blood Islands with a helmsman, and Return to Savage Shores George Washington LeBeau, who is brought aboard the Lynx. The Amity did indeed explore an untouched treasure stack, and found wine and message in a bottle. As there was a 4-way tie for the message in a bottle, the Spanish elected to send the Amity to the Gold Island closest to the pirate home island. The Aberdeen Baron and Lady Provost have almost reached Island number 1, where food can be found. Meanwhile, the London has dismasted the Raven and prepares to retake her for the English. The French are benefiting greatly from the finished goods, as they had some already stocked on their island, and have used that gold to fund fleet operations. The Royal Louis has returned from the trading port with the Spanish terms of trade. The Spanish have built their colony to the max level of 5, and very quickly too. The Spanish gold fleet stalls, with no extra valuable resources nearby. Gold ships now split between Pride Rock and the Medicine Island, where the Spanish have stored massive amounts of metals for the French. At the home island, Victor de Alva and the San Cristobal are welcomed to the fleet. Ships take metals from Pride Rock and store them at the trading port on Archway Island. The Spanish finish their turn by building Fortaleza Dorada on the eastern portal. This will allow Spanish ships to sail between the portals without having to roll dice. The Cursed move some unique treasures around and bring back gold from Voya Nui. The Dark Pact and Loa's Justice return once again to the Grey Beach, with hopes of finding an untapped source of gold. The Orca has re-entered Voya Nui Bay, and eyes the Cursed. With the current round of rolls almost to an end, the Americans branch back out, with more ships like the Mississippi returning to Kanohi Island for lumber. The Americans take advantage of all of their admiral crew to bring in as many finished goods and lumber as possible before the resource changes. Cashing in all of their resources, the Americans net themselves well over 100 gold, and spend some of it to launch the Atlanta, with a captain, helmsman, cannoneer, musketeer, and oarsman. The Raven's Neck and Darkhawk II head for Tutorial Island, where the Banshees Cry and Orca wait. The pirates finish their turn with a launch, putting the Neptune's Horde from Revolution, with a captain, helmsman, cannoneer, explorer, and oarsman, and the Curse Blade with a captain and helmsman into the water. They also buy another town token and a trading port token. The Aberdeen Baron and Lady Provost dock at Island 1 and load a full hold of food. The Benjamin is just short of the island. Back at home, the London retakes the Raven. She will be taken home and cleansed of any befoulment. The French have built a town on the flat top island when no one was looking. Back at home, a trading port token has just been purchased. The French are beginning to get on a roll, with recent launches including La Corrigue, La Provence, and La Belle Étoile. The resource values expired and new ones were made. The dice were rolled, with a 5 coming up for value again, but the duration changing to 10. For the next 10 rounds, the resource values would hold from the previous round, and with such a long duration, factions could begin to make real long-term plans and strategies. With a continuation from the previous round, the Spanish continue with their operations. The Buscador and El Dorado are relocating to Pride Rock, where a trading port presumably will be built. El Villalobos and the Armada Flotilla guard the exit of the eastern portal. The Spanish know they are not alone in the ocean, and that the other portals are a way to outflank and sneak up on them from behind. The Guichon has managed to dock, load, and move away from the hidden docks on Hidden Cove Island. The English are quite pleased that the resource values have stayed more or less the same, as it gives them time to get more food back home. The Aberdeen slowly comes about, while the Raven begins to repair at the home island. The Caradoc docks at the beach of Hidden Cove, unaware of the Guichon and the Curse that are also visiting the island. The French are happy at the continuation, as it allows them to gather even more gold, which is beginning to pile up on their home island. The French build St. Pierre at the end of their turn, on the gold island adjacent to Flat Top Island. A storm threatens a French schooner in the northeastern sea, by the Skull Rock. The Spanish are stockpiling a huge amount of metals at the trading port on Archway Island. Most of it is for potential trade with the French. The rest is a store for when metals are valuable again. Ships of medicine are bearing down on Pride Rock, in anticipation of the trading port that is to be built there. However, it is not clear who the intended trading partner would be. The Americans? The pirates? The only captained Spanish ship in the area, the Crista del Obispo, guards the western side of Pride Rock. At the end of their turn, the Spanish go on a mega launch, launching El San Jose, El Duque, San Esteban, Pamplona, El Corazon Dorado, Magdalena, La Cazadora, Granada, El San Salvador, Bazana, La Serviente, Pescados de Plata, Valoroso, El Algeciras, South China Seas version, El Martillo de Dios, El Rosal, and La Ebro, all from their trading port at Archway, with no crew. The Americans continue to gather lumber, but not knowing that the resources will hold for quite some time, The canoes and ships like the Argo and Carolina are all that are bringing it in. In the background, you can see the Atlanta, sailing north. A majority of the American gold fleet is docked at Pyramid Island, soaking up the finished goods resource. Back at home, a town and trading port token are purchased, along with the Philadelphia and Louisiana, each with the helmsman, who will presumably take them to Kanohi Island. The Banshee's Cry and Orca keep an eye on the cursed ships docked at the Grey Beach. Meanwhile, the Raven's Neck and Darkhawk II have docked at Tutorial Island and prepare to upgrade it. The Neptune's Horde docks at the Shipwreck Pathway, with the Cursed Blade not far behind. The Aberdeen Baron and Benjamin head for home, loaded with valuable goods. Waiting for them at home are the newest additions to the English fleet, HMS Dover and HMS King Edward, each with a helmsman. The French continue to do well after a small panic. Now that the resources around them are valuable again, the gold is beginning to flow in. The French end their turn with a launch from St. Pierre, the Triumph, the St. Joan, and the Matuku. The Spanish build a town on Pride Rock. The stockpile of medicine has been placed and will only grow as ships continue to sail to and fro. All of the newly launched ships have loaded medicine and are making way for Pride Rock. With her good cannons, the Francisco helps guard over the whirlpool by the portal. The Spanish are taking no chances at a faction sneaking up on them through the whirlpools or the portals. If anyone was to try and come for them, they would have to do it the old-fashioned way. The Santa Ana docks at the finished goods half of the Split Island, scaring off the coral. The Dark Pack loses a mast coming through the whirlpool, and the Guichen approaches home with a cargo of spices. The Americans experience a fraction of what the Spanish are dealing with, as their ships bunch up and get stuck in traffic jams. With extra actions from the Admiral crew, the Louisiana and Philadelphia make it to Kanohi Island. The pirates build a town on the Shipwreck Pathway. They also build one on Tutorial Island. In the background, Lepic has navigated the reefs and is eyed by the Orca. The Banshee's Cry decides to be brave and stares down the much larger Fiddler's Green to dock at the Grey Beach. At the end of their turn, the pirates build the Dead Man's Point on the southern arm of Voyanui. To cap things off, the pirates launch as well despite the storm practically on top of their home island. The Golden Medusa with Philippe Lafitte, Lady Baptiste, a captain, helmsman, double shot, and an oarsman. A Lady Scorn from Rise of the Fiends, with Admiral Skaith from Pirates of Dark Tides, a captain, helmsman, cannoneer, and oarsman. A Skipping Stone, with Captain Elizabeth Swan, a captain and an oarsman. Thus giving themselves 3 Fleet Admiral crew, which will be essential for the long game. And that wraps up report number 3. The Spanish seem like early favorites, but the French, Americans, and pirates all have potential left to be tapped. And the English and Cursed have yet to really get going. If you want to see what happens next, make sure you're subscribed. If you like what you saw, hit that like button. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.